Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this opinion to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, YouTube Nation already knows what I thought about the Miguel Cotto Antonio Margarito fight. I've already made a post-fight video, and many of you responded. The comment section to that video generated more than 7 pages of comments. Here's what YouTube Nation is thinking about that fight. Here's what you wrote me. Let me share it with everyone here online. Not often do I disagree with Dwyer. But he is way off on this one. Cotto had a dodgy spell in the mid-rounds, but clearly overcame it and was looking stronger by the round towards the end. Margot was looking weaker by the round, none more so than the ninth. There was no chance of a repeat of the first fight. It was either going to be a Cotto whitewash decision or a Cotto late TKO had it continued. And that was sent by YouTube viewer SHEHD1983. Here's another comment. No one's disputing Cotto was dominating the fight. The fact is, Margarito could still see and pass the test when the doctor asked him if he could. Margarito was being shafted from the get-go, in parentheses, which he deserved. But when you make him fly out from Mexico a week before the fight to get his eye tested for a third time, make him wait 45 minutes to wrap his hands, bring in Naseem Richardson to check his wraps, and have the doctor stop the fight despite the fact that he could see, it looks shady. That's from Chirac Sunrise 22. Dwyer, I was at the fight. 3 things I noticed. Cotto's face had abrasions, but nowhere near the swelling and trauma of the first fight. Second, Cotto was gassed by the 6th round in the first fight. He definitely had more energy in this fight. Third, Cotto did tie up Tony in the later rounds. Now the eye issue. I call this to 2 co-workers at the fight. I said if the eye swells, the doctors will stop the fight. My co-workers disagreed. I said no way the New York Athletic Commission lets the fight continue if the eye is bad. The commission will not have Tony's potential blindness on their hands. As for my opinion of the fight, Cotto was winning. However, Cotto can't hurt Tony. That's obvious. If there was no eye issue, I do think Tony would walk down Cotto all night. However, I don't believe Cotto's punishment was as severe as the first fight, and his strategy to hold and block the uppercut would have given him a unanimous win. That's from Spanky Big Head. Here's one that several viewers agreed with. They voted thumbs up in the comment section of the video. You guys are crazy. The chances that Margarito would have won the fight if it wouldn't have been stopped are absolutely 0. Not 2% or 3%, 0%. That's from IBHOF2. Here's another. I wanted Cotto to win and predicted he would win, but I was disappointed with the early stoppage. I agree with Dwyer. The second half of the fight was supposed to be the moment of truth. However, every time Margarito got inside on Cotto or had him up against the ropes, Cotto would push him backwards, not allowing Margarito to throw his weight behind his punches. I think Cotto could have done that for the rest of the fight, but we'll never know for sure. That's from Adrianology 101, and I agree with those comments. Here's one. Margarito would have lost by unanimous decision. Cotto was way fresher than in the first fight and would have finished on his feet this time. That's from Kessler 003. Cotto was fine. All that bruising was congenital swelling from previous fights, and he hasn't recovered from Antonio Margarito's loaded wraps years ago. You don't recover from something like that. People saying we don't know what would have happened in the last 3 rounds, you could argue he hadn't won one round at all. People saying the fight shouldn't have been stopped are grasping at straws. Margarito's career would have been over if it had continued. Not that he doesn't deserve that. That's from Jim B 667. I believe Margarito had a chance to win. I hated the way they stopped the fight. Everybody should know that Cotto is the better boxer, and it was so predictable that Cotto was going to look good in the early rounds. We'll never know what the real outcome would have been since they stopped the fight. No excuses, but I really thought that Margarito had a great chance of possibly stopping Cotto in those last rounds. If Cotto got the decision after 12, that would have been okay, but very unsatisfying indeed. That's from Box Chief. Here's one. Personally, I would have liked for it to continue so I could continue to see Cotto tattooing Margarito. Cotto threw 58 punches in each of the 8th and 9th rounds, landing at a 43 and 50% rate respectively. Cotto threw 57 punches in each of the 3rd and 4th rounds, landing at 49 and 37% respectively. How was he fading? Cotto was not in trouble in any of the rounds, including the 9th round. It wasn't like It wasn't like Margarito's connect percentage was incrementally going up towards the end of the fight either. That's from Learn 1079. Here's one. I have a hard time believing that Margarito could see from his right eye. That thing was completely shut. He lost his peripheral vision and was deliberately getting hit on the same spot. Unlike the first fight, Margarito's punches seemed to have less and less effect as the fight progressed, similar to his fight with Manny Pacquiao. He might have been busier in the 9th round, but Cotto was actually getting a second wind at that point. It might sound crazy, but Cotto was starting to bully the bully. That's from Mahogany Toothpick. Let me just say, I have to comment here. The idea of Cotto getting his second win in the 9th round is exactly the kind of idea that should have been tested, in my opinion, in the 10th, 11th, and 12th rounds. Right? That's what they're there for. You don't stop a fight when both fighters can see, at least according to the results of the eye tests, right? Especially when the first fight ended in those last 3 rounds, right? Whether or not Cotto actually got his second win in the 9th round is an open question, and it shouldn't have been left open. I believe that the referee, not the ref, Smoker did a great job. I believe that the doctor did us a disservice by stopping a fight after a past eye test, right when the entire idea of second wins had become relevant. Let's continue. I only have 3 more of these. Here's the first. The doctor, referee, and 3 judges should all have to give a series of post-fight press conferences so that they can explain to the paying public some very important things. These fighters train too hard to be treated so mysteriously. I agree. That's from Trainline Zoo. Here's the next to last one. This is exactly what I thought I'll point to this video to anyone asking me about the fight. Cotto's face wasn't clean, as he said. That's from Fee Boxing. And finally, no one can dispute that Cotto looked better at the end of this fight than in the first fight, By the second round, Cotto was bleeding in the first fight. Cotto's face swells easily now because of all of the wars he has been in. It had nothing to do with Margarito's power. Even Yuri Foreman had Cotto a little swollen. Margarito's punches didn't have the same effect on Cotto this time. No way Margarito would KO Cotto in the last 3 rounds, because Cotto was in way better shape going into the last rounds than in the first fight. Easy win. And that is from YouTube user Cotto280. Let me just say this. If Cotto was on his way to an easy win, he should have had the opportunity to get that win, right? Unfortunately, he didn't have that opportunity. Rather, the doctor gave him the win, right? You know, it's unfortunate. But if in fact Cotto was in much better shape than in the first fight, then he should have had an opportunity to show that in the in the 10th, 11th, and 12th rounds. His former trainer, his uncle, the guy who we got into the fight with, actually gave an interview that's right now on boxingscene.com. And he actually claims that the only difference he saw between the first fight and this fight was that Cotto was able to stay off the ropes this fight, right? That, Cotto, this fight did what they trained for in the first fight. But yet, even in this fight, Margarito had started to back Cotto up to the rope area, right? Now, I'm not saying that Margarito would have been able to have capitalized on that in the last 3 rounds. There's uncertainty, right? But that's why we have boxing matches, to resolve that uncertainty. So as long as Margarito could see out of his eye, right, this fight should have been allowed to continue. We'll never know if Cotto would have been able to have kept the fight in the middle of the ring or whether he would have broken. Let me also point out, too, the way I remember the first fight's a little bit different than some of these comments. I thought it was shocking in the first fight. I mean, shocking. When Cotto suddenly broke and actually took a knee. You know, you were watching the fight, you thought, wow, this is lively. Wow, Margarito, the underdog, as he was in this fight, was scoring some punches, and then suddenly, it was like a big breaking of the dam. Cotto was broken. That's how suddenly it can happen in boxing, right? Not every fight has an ebb and flow that's incremental. We remember the recent fight, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. against Peter Manfredo, where suddenly Chavez lands one big punch and Manfredo is broken, right? And so I don't buy the idea that because of the pace of the fight, there was no way that Miguel Cotto, whose face was marked up, in my opinion, in this fight, right? Whose face is marked up, who's under heavy pressure. How heavy? 700 punches through 9 rounds type of pressure. I don't know why we're so confident that Miguel Cotto wouldn't have broken in the last 3 rounds. Maybe, maybe not. Unfortunately, that question, which people paid to find out, remains unanswered. I hope you continue to send me your comments, both on this fight and on other fights, so we can talk about them. The GamblersAdvisory.com channel page is really a meeting place for all of us, and I love reading these comments, and I hope to read some more, and I hope we can continue the format to share everyone's views. And never a reason to apologize in telling me that I'm way off on a take. That's fine. We all have opinions. It's okay. I understand that my opinion's just one in the universe, and I want to make sure that we get to quite a few of these opinions. Thanks for writing, and thanks for watching.